Well, I'm home now, so the sun comes out. Took my rollback to pick up this International truck I bought. It's a 93 International 9200 with an N14 Cummins 10-speed manual, and it's a day cab. It's a little too tall for my rollback, so I had to flatten all 10 tires. That gave me about another 4 inches, but we got her home. It's a no start. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on. I bought it to replace another truck I've got that I sold, and I wanted an old mechanical, at least pre-emissions, and this one isn't a mechanical engine, but it is pre-emissions. I'm just having a little trouble seating a couple of beads. I got the old tank over here, working on that, but small price to pay. Take a little time to air the tires back up versus the $685 they quoted me to tow this thing 38 miles. This is how we aired up so we could release the parking brakes and let it roll. Just put a fitting in here and ran shop air or air off the truck just so we could release the parking brake. We're off now. All right, so this truck is a 1993 International 9200. Has an N14 Cummins. It's got a 10-speed tandem axle, so on and so forth. This company bought this new and ran it, for a number of years. And then a couple of years ago, they decided to replace the truck with a newer truck and a newer trailer. So they kept this around, used a little bit here and there. And long story short, it sat. They had a problem getting it started. They got it started, and they used it for like 8 more months, and they parked it again, went back and went to go start it, and it wouldn't start. They have had several people look at it. They put batteries in it. They put fuel filters in it. They've had all kinds of stuff done to it and have not been able to get it to start. It will crank over just fine. The battery's low now, but yeah, the battery's too low right now. But regardless, I looked at it and I thought, well, it's worth a shot. They replaced the power divider on the front of that drive. It's just a decent old truck. It's nothing spectacular, but it's something that if I can make it run and drive, it'll be an inexpensive truck for me to keep around to use. Now, that being said, we have to see if we can get it running. So the first thing I want to do, because it's a starting problem, it will not start. It cranks over fine. First thing I always do is come over here, turn the key on, and look for a check engine light. The check engine light is the third hole up, which should be right in here. And I have taken, sorry about that low air pressure light or warning buzzer. You can see that yellow right there? That's engine warning. So I took that off, and 1, 2, 3, I swapped these 2 bulbs out just to be sure that the bulb isn't the problem. And it's not. So the next thing I want to do, I'll turn that off so it's less annoying, is I want to check fuses. Okay? Because my thought is that always the same way in diagnosing anything. Let's start with the basics. All right, we don't have a check engine light or engine warning light. None of those lights come on. Engine warn, shut down, any of that. So we come over here behind the dash panel. There's a fuse panel there. There's 2 fuses over there for the ECM. They both have power, so we're good there. So the next logical step for me is I want to go to the ECM, and I want to make sure we have powers and grounds to the ECM plus the ignition power. We'll have a couple constant 12 volts. They'll be on fuses. then we'll have an ignition power, and we'll have a couple grounds. So what I did is I printed out the wiring schematic for this engine, and I have highlighted what I'm looking for, the circuits they are, the connector they're in, and what pins they are, because that's where we're going to go next. We want to make sure that the ECM has power and ground before we do anything else, because I can't plug my diagnostic scanner in because it uses this international goofy data link thing here that I don't have an adapter. We may end up taking this out and changing this and using the typical 9-pin Deutsch connector. Just replace it so we can have a connector, but we'll get to that later. So anyways, let's get under the hood and see if we can find, we're gonna find connector C, and then we'll start going down our list of, you can see here, the blue is the ignition switch. The red right here is our unswitched battery positive, which looks like we have 4 total on 2 different fuses. And then grounds, we have 1, 2, 3 I see right there. So let's get the hood open and see if we can find. All right, so you can see here, this is where we get our ground from the ECM, and then 2 purple wires come down here to the starter post right here, the battery positive, and then those feed the unswitched power to the ECM in connector C, which is called the actuator. It's on the back side, not this one we can see here, but the one back behind it. There's a second one back there. So what we have to do is get this one out of here and go back behind it. There is a common thing on these that when the fuel solenoid goes bad, the ECM, the way it works is ECM supplies 12 volts to the fuel shutoff. So when this starts to go bad, the ECM tries to supply 12 volts to this, and it fails, and it can destroy the ECM. So what we're going to do first is put a voltmeter on here and see how many volts we got here once the batteries are charged. And then once we know what the voltage is here, we will disconnect it and compare it with this eyelet off and see what voltage we have then. All right, so we have a ground strap, ground lead run up to the front. I'm testing my meter on the battery. Battery shows 13.7. So now I have the key on, because if the key is on, the ECM should supply power to that fuel cutoff solenoid. So if there's power here, that tells us that we have ignition power to the ECM. And we have nothing. It shows nothing right now, but that could be that this is shorted internally and it's pulling this down to a ground. So we're going to disconnect this terminal and check it again. All right, disconnected. Let's see what we got. Still nothing. Okay, so now what we want to do is check this fuel solenoid to ground. We want to make sure that this solenoid here, the resistance, because this is nothing more than a coil. All right, power comes in, big coil winding. On the other end of the coil winding goes to ground, and that creates a magnetic force. Magnetic force in the center of it pulls and moves a plunger. That's all that is. All right, so we're showing right about 14 ohms. So it's supposed to be 5 to 8. Solenoids, fuel cutoff, 7 to 8 ohms, it says. So we'll definitely be replacing that. This is another truck I own. It has an N14 as well. So we're just going to check the ohms of that fuel solenoid. 7.8. This truck runs and drives. So just nice to verify. And we know we have 12 volts coming to it because it runs and drives. So go ahead and put this back together and reference that against our solenoid. Now next step is, when you get into these connectors, it's this one back here, not this one but that one. So I need to take this out and get back in here. First I need to turn the key off. All right, so I got my connectors out, and these are very small connectors and I don't want to spread them. So I'm using my little probes here. They're only 30 thousandths MIG wire. So I'll be able to find the appropriate terminal and just touch it. What I do is I use an incandescent bulb. I run a ground to the battery, hook what should be the feed to it with a jumper, and we'll see if we have power on the appropriate pins. and it gives me my layout here for connector C, and I'm looking for 20, 21, 22, and 23. So you can see how the notch cut out, the orientation is done. So I need 20, 21, 22, and 23. Those are going to be my powers, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Okay, so we're going to check those first, then we'll go to 26 for ignition power. This, where you can see both at the same time. There's pin 20, 21, 22, 23. So we have all of our powers. Now this is 26. This needs to have power with the key on. This is the one I've been concerned about. So now we'll turn the key on. Okay. And then, let's see, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Okay, we have power on 26. Okay, so the ECM is being turned on. Now the next step is we need to reverse these and put it to where we're supplying power to the light so we can check the grounds on that plug, which the grounds are going to be right here. Let's see, pin number 9, 25, and 27. So ground will be on either side of that power and then over here. So let me get that set up. All right, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Here's 25, that's our ground. Okay, working. There's our ignition power. This should be our second ground, 27, and then 9, which is over here. So we have all of our grounds coming to it, and it's enough to support this. So what we know so far, we have power and ground to the ECM. The connectors look good. We'll get in here, we'll look at the end of the ECM, make sure it's okay. But we're not done looking yet. We still got to keep going. And it doesn't matter what we do. We have absolutely no communication. I guess I better turn the key back on. It's like the ECM is just not turning on. It's hard for you guys to see that. It just says there's no ECM detected. You can turn the key on and just nothing happens. I made a quick phone call to the international dealer, asked them if they had any insight that might help me along with this, and he kind of agreed we're at probably the same place. It looks like we may just have a bad ECM, so I'm gonna call and see if we can test the ECM. The worst part is I have a truck with an ECM, and yeah, I sold the truck. I probably could have taken the ECM off, put it on this one, see if it's going to fire up and save myself a lot of grief, but yeah. The other fear is I put it on and it burns that ECM up in that truck, then I got to buy 2. That would be bad if there was a problem I'm not seeing. So I guess we're out of luck. We're going to see if we can take that to Cummins and see if they can test it. Alright, we're at the Cummins dealer. Let's see if we can get our ECM tested. Alright, so we're out of Cummins. They hooked up to it with their harness, their bypass harness. They could not get the ECM to turn on. So we boxed it up and we're sending it out to Midwest ECM Repair in West Cliff, Colorado. I called and spoke to these people after them being recommended by several people that have gone through this procedure before that I know. And I trust their judgment and their opinion, so we're going to go ahead and send it to them. Yes, you can get it done cheaper online, eBay, Amazon, whatever it is that you choose. I choose not to. I'm going to send my ECM out, which is in this box. I'm going to send it to them. They're going to test it. They're going to see what happened, what the failure is, and if it's repairable, they're going to repair it. They'll not just fix the problem, but they'll go over the whole entire ECM. If it's not repairable, they're going to sell me a reman when they've already rebuilt. So I know you get it done cheaper. It doesn't matter to me. I called and talked with these people. I'm confident, comfortable with them. That's why it's going here. So we're going to get it sent out, and probably in a week, maybe more, we should have it back. We'll see what it does. Look what showed up today. Good Lord, one-handed. Pity's sake. Yes. This will be my fuel solenoid here. new seals for the harness. Then my receipt here. 1,453 bucks. That was the seal connectors, the extra solenoids, so on and so forth. And then here is the programming for it, what they actually put into it. 460 horse. We found out the engine has been in-framed, and the CPL brought it up as a 460 horse motor. Losing my paperwork. The CPL says it could be 460, so I told him, I said, you do whatever you think is reasonable. We're not going to need it, but that's okay. And so I guess that's where he put that. It's getting, now, you know, it figures now it's getting windy. Look at that, man. They sent me a hat. What a nice hat. These guys aren't sponsored or anything. We just chose to use them because it came highly recommended by a couple people I know and trust. And there's everything there. A couple business cards, ink pen. Very nice. Very nice. And there's our, oh, look at that ECM hammer finish. Look at that. Look at that. 3619. Oh, there you go. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. All right. Well, let's get it put on and see what it does. All right. I got the ECM in. And before I did that, I have ohmed out all my powers and supplies for grounds and shorts and actuators and checked my entire harness. And then I went ahead and got the fuel solenoid in. The old ones, man, those O-rings were just hard as a rock. So all that's in. I need to replace this because I used the number 10 insulated connector over top of that loom, so we're going to fix that as well. And I'm going to tidy up some wiring back here, put some new clamps on, but I want to see if she will run on her own. All right, and you got check engine light on. All right, let's see what she does. Oh yeah, I'll take that. Ain't so bad. No check engine light. So we can turn the lights on over here. Give me light. There you go. Sounds pretty good.
Kind of dim.
Yeah, well, they're old incandescents. Give it a little throttle, see what it does. Go ahead. Well, belts are loose. About 30, 40, what's that going to be? 25, half that's full and a half, about 37 and a half, 38 pounds of oil pressure. Air suspension. Yeah, I got that dumped. Remember I did that, I took that apart. And we built any air pressure yet? Starting to, a little bit. Yeah. Alright, well, it's getting dark out, so it runs. That's more than we had, huh? So that was a success. For now, what we're going to do is go ahead and close the hood up. We'll wait till morning when it gets a little brighter out. And I'll put the air valve back together. Boy, it looks brighter in the camera than it is, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll let it run a while tomorrow, and we'll see what we got. It's charging good. I like that. Building air pressure, slow. Probably got a bunch of air leaks from sitting around. Probably ought to go get that air valve in the back. I think is there a dump valve in here? What's this here? Is this dump?
Yes.
There we go.
I don't know what that is.
That's sliding fifth wheel. Well, it sounds good. I don't know. shift tower is nice and snug, tight. A lot of these by this time feel like you're throwing a hot dog down a hallway. Well, my low air warning light went out. Shoot, man, I'm gonna take that as a success. She'll go on all of them just fine. No issues. Clutch feels good. Alright, man. Shoot. Alright, we'll pick this up tomorrow. Make sure there's no fuel leak. Sounds like we got some air leaks to track down. If you're not familiar with how Cummins does these connectors, it's pretty impressive. You got to give them credit. They make it so that one side of the zip tie goes through, wraps around the wire, comes up into the locking head, and there's a place for the locking head. It's a nice system because it supports the wire away from the connector, because the wire is most likely to break off right here where it's been crimped versus out into here. So it gives it some extra support. So you make sure you want to put them back on, and then also make sure you put the covers back on. They get zip tied and clipped on as well. That'll keep a lot of crud from getting in this area where they spread apart and where the weather pack terminals are. Remember, it's a, you know, I see a lot of times people get a success in fixing the truck only to fall short on the put back together, just to create problems for later. So ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. Another thing I do with these zip ties is I don't cut them, I twist them off. Always have. The reason being, it doesn't leave any sharp anything to cut you on. I know you can buy specialty whatever, but you know, cutters that flush cut or what have you, but my feeling has always been there's enough specialty tools out there for things that really do matter to me, that I need to buy or want to buy, that I'm not willing to spend the money on things that another tool does it just fine. Alright, there's one ready to go back in. Everything's back into place. All my holders are in. The straps are bolted back in, and I've checked again for leaks. I think we're ready to kind of button this thing up and see if we can take it for a drive. This is hard to do holding the camera. Well, I'm gonna tell you, she runs and drives pretty well. Got a couple low tires yet, but shoot, well, not bad at all. That's gonna be a problem. I'll take care of that next. That fitting is seized in there and it will not come loose. Well, we're going to put that in the wind column. She runs and drives. I've taken the fuel filter off and the air filter, and I'm going to get them things ordered up. We're going to go ahead and look it over front to back and see what else we're going to do. I got to take care of that fuel leak right there. It is dripping from that fitting. The steel line coming out of it is seized. The steel line on the other side looks pretty rough. We're just going to go ahead and replace both of those, and whatever else we find. But we'll look over everything, front to back, brakes, kingpins, tie rods, U-joints, you name it, we're going to look at it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.